There's the wavy lines. I've been watching so many paranormal videos that now I have the impression that every time I see those things, that there's some sort of supernatural event that's about to occur. But I'm sure that it's just the most supernatural thing that's happening is me operating technology, which is already a little spooky. I had talked a little bit about the playlist that I made for pagan music, and I think that when I was first getting into paganism, the two artists that most people would have thought of in relation to the pagan movement would have been Lorena McKennitt and Enya. And at that time, paganism was much more a kind of subgroup of the New Age movement. And there was other stuff going on also, like there was Dead Can Dance, which kind of came out of dark wave, so it kind of came out of a completely different tradition from Lorena McKennitt. But some of the songs, if you listen to them, there's some crossover. Like some of Lorena McKennitt's material is quite dark, and then some of Dead Can Dance's material was a little bit more I don't know, like a kind of new age folk, like a new age interpretation of folk music, I would say. So it was like spiritual. Dead Can Dance is always compared to Cocteau Twins, but Cocteau Twins, like I'm always listening more with my ear than I don't necessarily know the history of the movement. Possibly those bands were associated and kind of played in the same circles and attracted a lot of the same fans. But to me, Cocteau Twins sounds a lot more like Susie and the Banshees and Lenny Lovitch. Whereas Dead Can Dance, I would compare with Roxy Music and Bel Canto from Norway. I'm digressing. The point was, now pagan music in the new millennium, I guess we could say, is much more dominated by heavy metal bands. And especially if you were just to do, if you're a kind of pagan practitioner who likes to listen to music but does not necessarily have the time to research, and you just did like a quick Google search, you would end up coming up with a lot of metal groups based on your search query. And you might possibly, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe, I remember when Lorena McKennitt came out, there was a lot of complaints about how new agey it was and a little bit pretentious. I never actually found it that, but I could see their point. Like, being a witch or a Wiccan or a pagan doesn't mean that you have to be kind of into that style. Anyway, basically what I wanted to say is that there are a number of groups who have come out who are not well known. A number of groups and artists who have come out who are not well known, but they have impressed me a lot, and they are definitely more pagan. There's a group from Ukraine called Folkneri who is really amazing, and they do the kind of videos that I always wanted to see coming out of Ireland or Wales. They have done a version of the Ukrainian incarnation of Two Sisters, which is a famous Celtic ballad, and apparently there was a version of it that spread as far as Ukraine. And it's a gorgeous video and very strange and bewildering, and it's called Karchata. Anyway, there's a number of other bands. There is also the Rowan Amber Mill, who is an English band, and they do, I couldn't figure out what was going on the first time I saw their videos. They go to so much trouble to make their videos look like they were shot in the 70s on analog VHS. And so there's this really distressed look to the videos, and they look like, at first it looks like some kind of Blair Witch thing, like they're not necessarily that slick looking, but if you watch them a couple of times, you realize like a lot of the kind of, even like the shaking of the camera is actually synchronized. It's music. There's musicality in all of the footage, and which is something you really don't see in music videos very often, because often what happens is people come straight from film school and their first projects that they kind of try their hand at is music videos, and very often they have not heard the song that they're directing for, which shows. I keep seeing these videos, and it's very obvious that they have had a huge budget, but the director of the music video, and more importantly, the editor of the music video, has not heard the song. They have been given a vague instruction about what kind of genre it is. Like, this is a pop genre, put some dancing girls there, a couple special effects, you'll be good. And the truth is that we don't really notice, because when we're listening to a song, our brain is already kind of dancing. So any movement, our brain just sort of corrects it, and it looks semi-synchronized in our brain because we've sort of filled in the gap already. But if you ever see music videos where they have actually used musicality to synchronize the footage with the sounds that are happening in the music, it's really an ecstatic experience, I have to say, and it is not done very often. And the Rowan Amber Mill only does it very, very subtly. It's not like, an example of someone who did it really brilliantly would be S.J. Tucker with her Neptune video, where the waves look like they're dancing to the music, and they do this brilliant thing with the hammer down guitar and her hands grabbing onto a piece of driftwood, which is very dramatic. And I don't see that in music videos very often, where every segment, like every instrumental is a different scene, and like the sound of the guitar is like this plinky plunky sound. Suppose, imagine you're having someone plucking on guitar, they might do like a little dancing of motes of light that actually matches the plucking of the guitar. That actually is very impactful if you're watching a music video. And I feel like they just haven't tapped that enough. They're relying too much on people's laziness when they're watching. And that's my little nerdy bugaboo about the music industry. The other bands that are good, I have to stay on topic, is Wardruna is a very famous one that's good, but one that is not so well known, who's also amazing, is Russell Naya, which is headed by Sharon Krause. And she even goes so far as to, I think she is the only one out of all the pagan artists that I've seen who's not metal, who has done a song and a video dedicated to a Celtic deity. Because there's a song for, I don't know how to say it properly because I don't speak Welsh, but it's like Blodwood, something like that, or Blothwood, and that's a summer goddess. Excuse me. So then the only Irish group that I found, they're not pagan, but they do have a couple of pagan songs, is Anuna. And they have one song called the Kunla, which is quite creepy and also it has an ancient quality to it. And then from New Zealand, there is Jordan Rain, who is a solo female artist, and she's really incredible. She had done one song and video where she made all the puppets herself, and again, it's very well synchronized. and it's like that Indonesian stick puppet, where it's like a silhouette puppet thing, and just completely stunning. She directed it. Like, it goes to show you don't need a huge budget to make an amazing video to express and illustrate your song. And I totally understand artists that want the listener to envision for themselves the music, because I definitely got into music that way, and I understand that it's kind of more powerful, I guess, to do it that way. However, I have also experienced music that I wouldn't necessarily have got into that much if I just heard it, but the way the video was executed actually made it come to life for me. And now I think I've talked myself into hoarseness. So that's 3 videos I've done, and I don't think that I really knew what I was saying in this one particularly, but that was just to give you an idea of some bands that you should check out if you're interested in pagan music, and you don't want to go through my playlist of over 100 songs to find what you like. So those are my recommendations for now. Blessed be, and I will see you soon.